This 26-week-old fetus has developed a hole in his diaphragm, the membrane that separates the lungs from the abdomen.
Baby's facing the completely wrong position.
It's not a problem now, but his intestines will grow into the lung cavity, which will stop the lungs from developing properly. When he's born, he will almost certainly be unable to breathe and will die. Professor Kypros Nicolaides is a world-renowned pioneer of fetal surgery at King's College Hospital in London. He's developed a technique to block the windpipe of the fetus with an inflatable bladder, which forces the intestines back where they belong and allows the lungs to develop properly. This surgical procedure relies on a fetoscope to operate on the fetus inside the womb. A fetoscope is a long, narrow tube filled with fiber optic filaments. Light travels down one set of fibers to illuminate inside the uterus and is sent back to a camera so the surgeon can see what he's doing. It also carries the delicate instruments to conduct the operation. The first step is to inject an anesthetic into the fetus to keep it from moving. The mother is awake during the entire procedure, with only a local anesthetic to numb her. A general anesthetic would be too harmful for the baby. Professor Nicolaides then inserts the fetoscope through an incision in the mother's abdomen into the amniotic cavity. Once he safely reaches the fetus, he gently pushes the fetoscope into the mouth and down the back of the throat.
You have to touch the... So, yeah?
Yeah.
Touch there. And then we discover there. So that is the epiglottis on the right.
Inside the trachea, he inflates a tiny balloon that traps fluid inside the lungs. As the fetus grows, the lungs produce more fluid, which stimulates the lung tissue to grow and expand, forcing the intestines out of the chest cavity. The balloon is left in place for 2 months to give the lungs time to mature. Then the procedure is repeated, and the balloon is removed in time for what everyone hopes will be a normal birth. Since this operation to treat babies with this defect has been available, it has increased their chance of survival by 50%. At 28 weeks, or 7 months, the baby is over 2/3 of the way through her time in the womb and is gaining weight fast as she lays down a layer of fat under her skin. Her senses are buzzing and her cerebral cortex has matured enough to support consciousness. Over the next 4 weeks, her nervous system will become as advanced as a newborn baby's. She's becoming aware of the world around her, and for the first time, her brain is beginning to create memory.
Oh, what, really screaming?
The fetus has spent so much time listening to her mother's voice, she's familiar with its rhythms.
She would go into a mother and toddler group.
With this constant exposure, she absorbs enough of these patterns to recognize and even respond to it.
Oh, no, I thought she was though.
Researchers analyzing the cries of newborns found that they already contain some of the rhythms and patterns of their mother's speech.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
The fetus can now hear, taste, smell, and touch. She's likely to be turned head down in the womb, getting ready for birth. For the mother, This change could be marked by some painful kicks straight to her ribs.
In the back of my mind is
The type of music a baby is exposed to can alter her mood. Fast music stimulates and excites her. Music that is closest to the natural sounds and rhythms of the human voice, such as classical or choral music, has a sedating, calming effect. If she hears the same music over and over again, she may even be able to remember it. At 33 weeks, just over 8 months, the fetus may recognize a particular piece of music and even jump in time to it. Some scientists argue that there's very little difference between the brain of a newborn baby and that of a 33-week-old fetus. Where once it seemed that the mental development of a baby began at birth, now it appears that birth could be a relatively insignificant event in developmental terms. She may have to support herself after birth, but as for the process of thinking, learning, and remembering, she's already been hard at it for 3 months, and her brain will continue to grow at the same rate for the next year. The final phase of pregnancy is a demanding one for the mother. Many women feel uncomfortable during the last couple of months. The weight of the baby, together with pressure on the spine and a battle for space, can all cause her back and legs to ache. She may be feeling anxious about the birth and is likely to be short of breath as her lungs struggle to absorb 20% more oxygen than normal. One of the many things revealed by the 4D scans is the fact that babies have rapid eye movement sleep. This is a period of sleep when the eyes flicker around behind the eyelids. Later in life, this is an indication of dreaming. This gentle flicker of an eye could be a sign that the fetus, still with a month to go before being born, is already dreaming. Though with so little life experience, it's hard to imagine what she's dreaming about. Perhaps playing with her feet, or maybe the gurgling of her mother's stomach. In just over 8 months, the brain has grown approximately 100 billion neurons with 100 trillion connections. The brain and head have grown as big as they can in the womb, yet they're still small enough to squeeze through the mother's pelvis. The fetus can survive if born any time from about 35 weeks without much medical help. Although the longer she stays inside, the healthier she'll be at birth.